I'm the man here, he roared before his fist crashed into my face like a sledgehammer. My mother stood right there, doing nothing, just telling me, "Don't make this bigger than it needs to be." I dialed 911 with blood dripping down my collar, and the police knocked on our door just as they thought that was the ending. But it was only the beginning of the most legal and ruthless revenge plan of my life. My name is Maya Hart, 29 years old, and I coordinate logistics at Harborline Supply Co. in Aurora, Colorado. 3 months ago, I was still trying to fit into what my mother Elaine called our perfect family, me, her husband Randall Pike, and his daughter Sloane. Randall ran our household like his personal kingdom. Every dinner started with him at the head of the table, carving whatever meat we were having while explaining how a man provides structure to a home. He controlled every penny that moved through my mother's accounts, checking her credit card statements line by line, questioning a $7 coffee purchase like she'd committed fraud. Mom's salary from her nursing job went into their joint account, but somehow she needed permission to buy new scrubs. Traditional values, he'd say, sliding his arm around her shoulders at church functions. That's what's missing in modern families. The congregation ate it up. Randall Pike, the respectable foreman at Pioneer Ridge Contractors, keeping his blended family in line. Nobody saw how my mother's hands shook when he raised his voice. Nobody noticed how she'd learned to phrase every suggestion as a question, her voice lilting up at the end like a child asking permission. Sloane, his biological daughter, floated through this dynamic untouched. When she needed $3,000 for a charity planning retreat in Vail, Randall wrote the check without blinking. When I asked to use the garage to store boxes of my late father's belongings, he said I was cluttering up his property with junk. "Your dad's been gone 5 years," he reminded me one Sunday after church. "Holding on to that stuff is unhealthy. Shows you can't move forward." I started keeping a journal after that conversation, not a diary evidence. Times, dates, exact quotes. The way he'd accidentally knock over my coffee mug if I left it on his side of the kitchen counter. How he'd interrupt me mid-sentence at family dinners to ask Sloane about her day. The casual cruelty disguised as household management. The breaking point came in September when Randall decided he needed a new truck. Not just any truck, a $70,000 Ford F-350 with all the upgrades. His credit was shot from a business venture that went sideways years ago, so he needed my mother to co-sign. "Actually," he said at dinner, cutting his steak with precise movements, "Elaine will be the primary on the loan. Better interest rate with her nursing salary." I watched my mother nod, her fork pushing green beans around her plate. "That doesn't make sense," I said. "Mom's credit will take the hit for a truck she won't even drive." Randall's knife paused mid-cut. "Excuse me. I'm saying it's financially irresponsible. If Mom's taking the loan, the truck should be in her name only." He set down his utensils with deliberate control. "Economics lesson from the girl who sorts packages for a living. I coordinate supply chain logistics." "You move boxes." He smiled, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. "But please, tell me more about financial responsibility. Tell your mother, who's been married to me for 4 years, that you know better than her husband about family decisions." At the next family barbecue, he made a show of asking my opinion on everything. "Should we get premium gas or regular? Maya, you're the economics expert." The relatives laughed. Uncle Pete clapped him on the shoulder, praising him for including everyone in decisions. That night, I opened a new document on my laptop, started organizing the journal entries, screenshots of text messages where he told my mother she was lucky to have found a man willing to take on another man's leftovers, recording apps downloaded to my phone, cloud storage set up with automatic backups. I wasn't building a case yet. I was building an arsenal. The truck conversation would resurface 3 weeks later. And when it did, when I stood my ground about protecting my mother's financial future, that's when Randall Pike would show everyone exactly what kind of man ruled our house. But I was ready. Every cruel word, every controlling gesture, every financial manipulation, I had it all documented. He thought he was the man of the house. He had no idea he was living with his own destruction, quietly taking notes at his dinner table. The dinner started like any other Thursday night in October. Pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, Randall's favorite. I'd just gotten home from a 12-hour shift dealing with a shipment crisis, but there we all sat at 7:30 sharp because dinner time is family time. "Pass the salt," Randall said, not looking at me. I reached for it, then noticed the storage unit bill on the counter behind him. My father's things. I'd been paying $60 monthly to keep his belongings safe: photos, his Navy uniform, the toolbox he'd built with his father. "You went through my mail?" I asked. "It came to my house." He cut into his meat. $60 a month for some dead man's junk. That's $720 a year you're wasting. My mother's fork clinked against her plate. Sloane suddenly became very interested in her phone. "Those are my father's things. I pay for that storage myself. While living under my roof, eating my food." He pointed his knife at me, casual but threatening. "Everything in this house is my business. Speaking of which, I made an appointment at the Ford dealership for Saturday. Your mother's signing the loan papers." "Mom," I turned to her. "You don't have to—" "Don't talk over me." His voice stayed level, which was worse than yelling. "Elaine and I discussed this, like adults, in a marriage. A marriage where you need her credit because yours is trash." The table went silent. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. Randall set down his silverware with deliberate precision. Stood up slowly. 6'2" of controlled rage walking around the table toward me. "What did you say?" "I said your credit is trash. That's why you need Mom to—" His palm connected with my face before I could finish. The force snapped my head sideways, my lip catching on my teeth. Blood, instant and metallic. "I'm the man here." He grabbed my shoulder, shaking me. "You don't question me in my own house." I tried to pull away, but he shoved me backward. I hit the china cabinet, rattling every piece of my grandmother's dishware inside. A frame fell our family photo from last Christmas, glass cracking across our forced smiles. "Randall, please." My mother started. "Shut up, Elaine. This is what happens when you don't discipline them." He towered over me as I tried to stand. "Disrespectful little bitch, just like her father. No wonder he died young, probably couldn't stand listening to that mouth either." Something inside me crystallized in that moment. Cold, clear, decisive. I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" He laughed. "Texting your little friends. Calling 911? His face went white. "You put that down right now." "911? What's your emergency?" The dispatcher's voice filled the kitchen through my speaker. "My stepfather just assaulted me. I need police at 4527 Meadowlark Drive. I have visible injuries and I don't feel safe." "You lying little—" He stepped toward me again. "He's approaching me again," I told the dispatcher, backing toward the door. "He's already hit me once. There's blood." "Officers are en route, ma'am. Stay on the line." My mother stood frozen by the table, hands covering her mouth. Sloane had disappeared upstairs. Randall paced like a caged animal, muttering about ungrateful kids and making things up. "Don't make this bigger than it needs to be," my mother finally whispered. "Maya, please. The neighbors." The neighbors already heard him screaming. I kept the phone pressed to my ear, my lip throbbing. They heard everything. The cruiser lights painted our suburban street red and blue at 8:43 p.m. 2 officers, both wearing body cameras. The younger one took photos of my split lip, the mark on my face already darkening to purple. The older one listened to Randall's version how I was unstable, dramatic, probably drinking. "She's making this up," Randall insisted, his foreman voice trying to establish authority. "Teen rebellion. You know how it is." "I'm 29, I told the officer, "and I want to file charges." They gave me paperwork for a temporary protection order. An EMT cleaned my lip, said I'd need 2 stitches. Through it all, my mother stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, watching her perfect family portrait shatter. As the police took their final notes, those red and blue lights swept across our living room, illuminating the cracked family photo on the floor. In that fractured glass, I saw the truth clearly. This had never been my family. I'd just been an intruder Randall tolerated for my mother's sake. But now I had evidence: body cam footage, medical records, a police report with his lies recorded in official documentation. The war had begun. And unlike Randall, I understood that the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served legally. The next morning, Randall's Facebook post had 47 likes and climbing. Praying for our family during this difficult time. Mental health struggles can tear loved ones apart. We're committed to getting Maya the help she needs. God knows we've tried everything. Mental health, awareness, jot family first. Beneath it, comments poured in from church members and his co-workers. You're such a strong father figure. She's lucky to have you. Kids these days don't appreciate discipline. My mother called me 19 times before noon. I was staying at my friend Tessa Nguyen's apartment. Ice pack pressed to my swollen lip while scrolling through the social media assassination of my character. When I finally answered, her voice came out strangled. Maya, honey, please, just tell them you were confused, that you overreacted. He hit me. Mom. He was trying to correct your behavior. You pushed him too far with that comment about his credit. So I deserved it. Silence. Then, think about what this does to our reputation. I can't show my face at church. The homeowners association is asking questions. Mrs. Patterson saw the police cars. Good. Maya, please, just come home. Apologize. We can move past this like a family. I hung up. By evening, Sloane had started her own campaign. Old college photos surfaced on Instagram me at parties, red Solo cup in hand. Worried about my stepsister. This isn't the first time alcohol has caused problems in our family. Pray for Maya. The doorbell cam footage from the Pattersons would tell a different story, but I needed to request it formally. Same with the body cam footage. Colorado's Freedom of Information Act meant paperwork, processing time, fees. I started filling out forms with my good hand, my other one taking photos of the bruise spreading across my jaw like spilled ink. Tessa sat across from me, her laptop open. This is insane. They're completely rewriting what happened. That's the playbook, I said, uploading medical photos to 3 different cloud services. Discredit the victim, control the narrative, make everyone doubt what they saw. The Johnsons live 2 doors down. They had to hear him screaming. Won't matter if they believe I provoked it. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Maya. This is Rory Talbot from Front Porch Legal Aid. I saw the police report. I'd like to discuss your options for a protection order. We met the next day. Rory was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with the kind of focused intensity that meant she'd seen this story before. The temporary protection order is just the start, she explained, spreading documents across her desk. But I need everything, every text, every email, every piece of evidence that shows a pattern. I pulled out my laptop. How about 9 months of documentation? Her eyebrows went up as she scrolled through my files. Screenshots of Randall telling my mother she was too stupid to manage money without him. Audio recordings of his rants about women knowing their place. Financial records showing mysterious charges on my mother's credit cards, all traced to Sloane's address. This is thorough, Rory said. I'm a logistics coordinator. Documentation is what I do. What about witnesses? Working on it. The neighbors have doorbell footage. I've filed FOIA requests for the body cam videos. And I hesitated. I might have something else. Randall filed for workers' comp 6 months ago. Back injury. But I've seen him lifting plenty since then. Rory leaned back. That's insurance fraud. Completely separate issue, but it speaks to credibility. How do I prove it? Carefully. Very carefully. That night, I created new social media accounts under variations of my name. Started posting my side. Not emotional rants, just facts. October 15th, 8:43 p.m. Police responded to domestic violence call. Medical records confirm facial contusions, split lip requiring stitches. October 16th, 11:30 a.m. Victim requested TPO documentation from Aurora Courthouse. The Homeowners Association Facebook group started splitting. Some sided with Randall, the respected contractor who'd helped renovate the community center. Others remembered hearing screaming that night, seeing the police lights. Mrs. Patterson Private messaged me, "I have the doorbell footage, 20 minutes of it." His voice carries. Mr. Johnson. We heard everything through the shared wall. My wife was about to call the police herself. Dr. Kumar from 2 streets over. I saw Randall lifting concrete bags at Home Depot last Tuesday. Wasn't he on disability? The tide was turning, but Randall had one more card to play. Sunday morning, he stood at the church podium during prayer requests. Voice breaking, tears in his eyes. He asked the congregation to pray for his troubled stepdaughter, who was trying to destroy their family with false accusations. 30 people filmed it on their phones. 29 posted it with sympathy. One sent it to me with a note. Thought you should see this performance. Notice how he never actually denies hitting you. Minister's wife. I saved every video, added them to my files. Let him keep talking, keep performing, keep building the rope I'd use to hang him legally. The protection order hearing was in 3 days. Randall thought he'd buried me under public opinion. He had no idea I was building something beautiful from all his lies, a perfect paper trail leading straight to his destruction. The break came from an unexpected source, Randall's own paperwork. I was sitting in Tessa's apartment at 2:15 a.m., eyes burning from staring at public record searches, when I found it. The workers' compensation claim filed with Pioneer Ridge Contractors. Severe lumbar strain, unable to lift more than 10 pounds, mobility severely restricted. The claim was dated June 3rd. The surveillance footage from Home Depot that Dr. Kumar mentioned July 19th, but I needed more than hearsay. We need video proof, Tessa said, refilling my coffee. Something undeniable. The insurance company must have investigated. They always do for claims over $50,000. I pulled up Pioneer Ridge's contractor license, their insurance provider, every public document I could find. Zenith Mutual Insurance. They'd have a fraud department. Meanwhile, my mother's credit card statements told another story. $3,000 for Sloan's charity retreat, $500 at Nordstrom the next week, $800 at a spa in Boulder, all while my mother worked double shifts to cover unexpected expenses. Look at this, Tessa pointed at her screen. Sloan posted about organizing a fundraiser for homeless veterans, posted tons of photos from the planning retreat. So, I reverse searched the images. They're stock photos from a resort's website. She never organized anything. The charity doesn't even exist. I cross-referenced the Colorado Secretary of State's charity database. No registration for Heroes Haven Foundation that Sloan claimed to run. The donation page on her social media. It linked to her personal Venmo. That's wire fraud, Rory said when I called her at 7 a.m. If she used postal service or internet to solicit donations under false pretenses, can we prove it? Get me the Venmo records and any donor who thought they were giving to charity. One is enough. The web of lies was more tangled than I'd imagined, but Randall's weakness was his arrogance. He couldn't resist posting workout videos on his private Instagram, pushing through the pain. Warriors don't quit. Real men work through injury. I created a fake account, Fit Colorado Guy, followed all his gym buddies, posted some generic fitness content, then followed him. He accepted within hours. There it was. Posted August 22nd, 2 months after his injury claim, Randall deadlifting 200 pounds. Caption, back in the game. Nothing keeps me down. Screenshot. Saved. Uploaded to 3 separate clouds. But I needed something more recent, more definitive. That's when Tessa proposed her plan. My cousin runs a moving company. They're hiring temporary workers for weekend jobs. Cash paid daily. What if we put up flyers near Randall's gym? He won't apply for a moving job while on disability. No, but he might show off. You know how he is. Someone mentions needing help moving something heavy. We refined the plan. Tessa would go to his gym, pretend to be struggling with equipment, mention she was moving apartments, needed help with a couch, offer cash for anyone who could help load it. That's entrapment, Rory warned. No, it's giving him an opportunity to demonstrate his physical capacity in a public place. If he's truly injured, he'll decline. October 20th, 3 p.m. Tessa executed perfectly. Hidden camera in her gym bag. She approached Randall's group after their workout. I heard you guys are the strongest crew here. I've got a $200 problem, need someone to help move a couch to my truck. Bad back from childbirth. Doctor says no lifting. Randall jumped at it. I got you covered. Where's it at? The video was beautiful. Randall lifting one end of a sleeper sofa, pivoting it through a doorway, loading it into a truck bed. Tessa made sure to get multiple angles, his face clearly visible. My back's been acting up, he mentioned casually, but still stronger than these young kids. That night, I compiled everything into a comprehensive package. The deadlifting video, the moving footage. Medical records from his workers' comp claim stating he couldn't lift more than 10 pounds. Photographs from his Facebook showing him at a construction site, carrying lumber, 2 weeks after filing for disability. I sent copies to 3 places Rory for the protection order hearing: Zenith Mutual's fraud department and Pioneer Ridge's human resources director. The HR director called me the next morning. We can't discuss employee matters, but we appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Can you send the original video files? Zenith Mutual was more direct. We've opened an investigation. Our investigator will be in touch. But the real discovery came from an unlikely source. My mother, in a moment of weakness, had forwarded me an email meant for Randall. It was from Ford Financial Services, declining the loan application. Due to recent credit inquiries and debt-to-income ratio exceeding acceptable parameters, Randall had already tried to get the loan and been rejected. He didn't need my mother to co-sign. He needed her to take the entire loan herself. The truck would be in her name, but he'd drive it, control it, own it in everything but law, just like everything else in their marriage. I added the email to my evidence folder. The protection order hearing was tomorrow. Randall thought he'd walk in there as the respected contractor, the godly stepfather dealing with a troubled young woman. Instead, he'd face a judge while under investigation for insurance fraud, his stepdaughter for charity fraud, and a paper trail of financial abuse stretching back years. I looked at the stack of evidence Rory and I had assembled: police reports, medical records, financial documents, video evidence, witness statements. This is more than enough, Rory said. He's finished. Not yet, I replied. The protection order is just the appetizer. The main course would be served at Sloane's engagement party next week, where they planned to publicly clear their family name. They wanted a public stage. I'd give them one they'd never forget. The courtroom smelled like old wood and disappointment. October 24th, 9 a.m. sharp. I sat with Rory on the plaintiff's side while Randall commanded the defendant's table, wearing his best suit and his victim face. Your Honor, his lawyer began, Mr. Pike is a pillar of the community, a foreman, a church deacon, a devoted husband and father. These allegations are nothing more than a young woman's attempt to destroy a family that welcomed her with open arms. Judge Martinez, a woman who looked like she'd heard every sob story twice, flipped through the documents. Mr. Pike, did you strike Miss Hart on October 15th? It was a disagreement that got out of hand. She was disrespectful, challenging my authority in my own home. I may have made contact while gesturing. That's a yes or no question. Randall's jaw tightened. She provoked me. So, yes? I was defending myself against her verbal assault. I passed Rory my phone. She stood up. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Plaintiff's Exhibit A through F. Medical records showing facial contusions requiring stitches, body camera footage from responding officers, and doorbell camera footage from neighbors showing Mr. Pike screaming, I'm the man here, before the assault. The judge put on reading glasses, studying the photos of my face, purple and swollen, blood on my shirt. This is from a gesture. She's exaggerating. Mr. Pike, you're not speaking right now." The judge pulled up the body cam footage on her laptop. We all sat in silence as Randall's voice filled the courtroom. "She's making this up. Teen rebellion. Probably drinking." "Mr. Pike, you told officers she was a teenager." "I meant she acts like one." "She's 29. "I misspoke." Judge Martinez turned to me. "Miss Hart, do you feel threatened by Mr. Pike?" "Yes, Your Honor. This isn't the first incident, just the first one reported. I have 9 months of documentation showing escalating control and verbal abuse." "Objection," Randall's lawyer interrupted. "Hearsay and speculation. This isn't a criminal trial. Counselor, I'll decide what's relevant." The judge continued reviewing documents. "Mr. Pike, I see here you posted on social media about Miss Hart's mental health struggles the morning after the incident. I was asking for prayers," while simultaneously undermining her credibility. Rory stood again. "Your Honor, the plaintiff simply wants to feel safe. Mr. Pike still lives in the same house as her mother, where Miss Hart's belongings remain. We're asking for a protection order that allows her to retrieve her property safely and prevents Mr. Pike from further harassment or defamation." The judge nodded, typing something. "Mr. Pike, I'm granting the temporary protection order for 12 months. You are not to come within 100 yards of Miss Hart. No contact, direct or indirect, including through third parties or social media. You have 7 days to vacate the shared residence while Miss Hart retrieves her belongings." "This is ridiculous." Randall stood up. "I'm being kicked out of my own house because she can't show respect. Mr. Pike, would you like me to add contempt charges?" He sat down, face red. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "any violation of this order will result in immediate arrest. Miss Hart, you may coordinate with law enforcement for property retrieval." Outside the courthouse, Randall waited until his lawyer was gone before approaching the parking lot where I stood, still 90 yards away, technically legal. "You think you won," he shouted across the distance. "You just destroyed your mother. She's nothing without me. Neither are you." I pulled out my phone, started recording. "You're violating the spirit of the protection order by yelling threats at me." He backed up but kept yelling. "Sloane's engagement party is Saturday. Your mother will be there, supporting real family. And everyone will know what you really are, a vindictive little bitch who couldn't handle discipline." Perfect. He'd just told me exactly where they'd all be and when. That evening, my mother called from her sister's phone. "Maya, please, the protection order. He has to leave for a week. Where will he go?" "That's not my problem. You're ruining everything. The engagement party, Sloane's big day, the whole church will be there. Everyone's talking about our family drama." "Good. Let them talk." "He's already telling everyone you manipulated the judge, that you're on drugs, that you seduced him and he rejected you so you made up lies. He said what? Pastor Williams wants to do an intervention, for your sake." The sickness of it made my stomach turn, but it also gave me an idea. "Mom, does Sloane still have access to your credit cards? Why would you ask that?" "Just check your statement." Silence. Then, there are charges I don't recognize. From yesterday. During the hearing? While we were in court, Sloane had spent $800 at a bridal shop, using my mother's credit while her father fought the protection order. "Mom, I need you to listen carefully. I have evidence that Sloane's charity is fake, that Randall's workers' comp claim is fraudulent, that they're both using you for money. At the engagement party." "Stop. Just stop. I don't want to hear any more." Her voice cracked. "I'm standing by my husband." She hung up. Rory texted me an hour later. "Insurance investigator wants to meet Monday." Also, 3 donors contacted me about Sloane's fake charity. They want their money back. I sat in Tessa's apartment, looking at all my evidence. The protection order was just step 1. The engagement party would be step 2. They wanted to clear their family name in front of everyone perfect. I'd bring the truth to their stage, with cameras, with evidence, with witnesses, and with police backup, if necessary. The protection order changed everything and nothing. Randall moved into Sloane's apartment for his mandated week away, but his campaign intensified. Every day brought new Facebook posts from church members who'd witnessed Maya's troubling behavior or prayed for her recovery from addiction. None of them mentioned they'd never actually seen me drink. I decided to stop playing defense. Thursday afternoon, I posted in the Aurora Community Forum not naming names, but telling my story. Domestic violence doesn't always look like what you expect. Sometimes it wears a suit to church and coaches Little League. Sometimes the bruises are documented in police reports while the abuser posts about family values online. The response was immediate. Private messages flooded in. Same thing happened to my daughter. The man was a contractor too. I heard the screaming that night. I'm sorry I didn't call the police myself. My ex-husband did the exact same thing, hit me, then told everyone I was crazy. But the most interesting message came from someone unexpected: Sloane's ex-roommate, Brittany. I have receipts, literally. Sloane used to brag about using your mom's credit cards. Said it was payment for dealing with her baggage daughter. Want to meet? We met at a Starbucks downtown. Brittany came with a folder. I kept everything because she stuck me with 2 months of unpaid rent when she moved out. Look. She spread out printed texts, showing Sloane discussing her fake charity, laughing about the idiots who donated, planning shopping sprees on my mother's cards. Why didn't you report this? To who? Her dad's friends with half the police force? But now that there's a protection order on record. She pushed the folder toward me. Use it all. That evening, Tessa had her own breakthrough. Remember the moving company video? I showed it to my cousin who actually runs a moving company. He recognized the furniture. It's from a specific rental company that supplies film sets. They keep logs of who rents what. So guess who rented that exact couch the day before Randall moved it? Pioneer Ridge Contractors, for a commercial shoot that never happened. He literally used company resources to move furniture while claiming he couldn't work. The pieces were falling into place faster than I could document them. Rory worked overtime, preparing cease and desist letters for the defamation, criminal fraud complaints for the charity scheme, and a civil suit for the credit card theft. We could file all of this Monday, she said, but you mentioned wanting to handle this at the engagement party. They've invited everyone. The whole congregation, Randall's work crew, the neighborhood. They want to restore their reputation publicly. That's risky. You have a protection order. You can't go within 100 yards of him. The church fellowship hall is huge. I can stay by the entrance, more than 100 yards from the stage area where they'll be, long enough to make sure everyone sees the truth. Friday night. My phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Hart. This is Detective Morrison with the Economic Crimes Unit. We've received multiple fraud complaints regarding a Sloane Pike and a fake charity. We're also coordinating with Zenith Mutual Insurance regarding Randall Pike. Are you available to provide a statement? How about Saturday evening around 7 p.m.? That's unusual timing. There's an event where both suspects will be present, with most of their victims. A pause. We can't make arrests based on your timeline. I'm not asking you to. Just be available if new evidence comes to light. Or if someone violates a protection order. Another pause. We'll have units in the area. Saturday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my mother. Her voicemail was barely coherent. The bank called. There's been suspicious activity. Charges in Sloane's name, but I never authorized. Maya, what did you do? I hadn't done anything. Sloane had gotten greedy, made too many purchases too fast, triggered the fraud alerts herself. The bank froze the card pending investigation. Randall's response was predictable. A public post. Satan works through the weak to attack the righteous. Tonight, at our daughter's engagement celebration, we'll show that love conquers lies. God will reveal the truth. Yes, I thought, looking at my flash drive full of evidence. He certainly will. Tessa helped me prepare everything. The body cam footage, edited to just the key moments. The moving video with date stamps. Sloane's texts about the fake charity, the credit card records. All loaded onto a drive that could plug into the church's AV system. You sure about this? Tessa asked. They wanted a public stage. They chose this. What about your mom? I thought about her standing there that night, watching him hit me, telling me not to make it worse. She chose too. 6:30 p.m. I put on my best dress, the one I'd worn to my father's funeral. Seemed appropriate. Tessa drove. The flash drive sat in my pocket like a loaded gun. The church parking lot was full. Through the windows, I could see decorated tables, flower arrangements, a projector screen showing photos of Sloane and her fiancé. Ready? Tessa asked. I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Detective Morrison. A text from Rory. Whatever you're planning, be careful. Another from an unknown number. This is Investigator Walsh from Zenith Mutual. We'll be documenting Mr. Pike's physical capabilities at tonight's event. Everyone was in position. Ready, I said. We walked toward the entrance, where I could see Randall on the far stage, microphone in hand, preparing to play the devoted father. Time to give him the audience he deserved. The fellowship hall sparkled with fairy lights and false promises. 7:20 p.m., and nearly 200 people filled the space. I stood just inside the entrance, measuring the distance 120 feet to the stage where Randall held court. Legal. Safe. Perfect. Sloane glowed in her white dress, playing the bride-to-be while her fiancé Mark stood awkwardly beside her, unaware his future wife was a fraud. My mother sat at the family table, her smile as fragile as spun glass. Ladies and gentlemen, Randall's voice boomed through the speakers. Before we celebrate Sloane's engagement, I want to address the elephant in the room. The crowd quieted. Here it came. Our family has been under spiritual attack. My stepdaughter, who isn't here tonight, has made terrible accusations. But we forgive her. We pray for her recovery from whatever demons she's fighting. Sympathetic murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Patterson shifted uncomfortably. The Johnsons exchanged glances. That's why tonight is so important, Randall continued, to show that love conquers lies, that family survives scandal, that truth always wins. I pulled out my phone and typed a message to the church's youth pastor, Tommy, who ran the AV booth. Check your email, emergency. Tommy was 23, idealistic, and had always been kind to me. The email contained everything labeled, organized, undeniable. Subject line, the truth about tonight. Randall was still talking. Some people can't handle structure, can't handle authority. When you spare the rod. The projector screen behind him flickered. The engagement photos disappeared. Body cam footage filled the screen. Randall's voice, crystal clear. She's making this up. Teen rebellion. Probably drinking. Then my face bloodied, swollen, purple. Gasps erupted across the hall. Randall spun around, saw the image, yanked at the microphone. Turn that off, turn it off. But Tommy wasn't done. The screen changed. Security footage from the moving company, dated 2 weeks after Randall's injury claim. Him lifting the couch, laughing about his bad back, saying he was stronger than these young kids. What is this? Randall roared. The screen changed again. Screenshots of Sloane's texts. Mom's credit card is basically free money. She's too stupid to check statements. Sloane stood up so fast her chair fell backward. That's fake. Someone faked those, another change. Bank statements. The fake charity registration. Donation records from people who thought they were helping veterans. The crowd was in chaos. Some people stood to leave. Others pulled out phones, recording. Pastor Williams tried to reach the AV booth, but Tommy had locked the door. This is defamation. Randall screamed into the microphone. This is illegal! I stepped forward, still maintaining my distance, and spoke loud enough for those near me to hear. Everything displayed is public record or legally obtained evidence. The police reports are real. The medical records are mine to share. The fraud is documented. That's when Detective Morrison walked in, followed by 2 uniformed officers. The crowd parted as they moved toward the stage. Randall Pike. Morrison announced, "We need to speak with you regarding allegations of insurance fraud. This is harassment I'm being set up. Sir, we have video evidence of you performing physical activities inconsistent with your workers' compensation claim. You can come voluntarily, or I'm not going anywhere. Randall grabbed the podium like an anchor. This is my daughter's engagement party. The screen changed one more time. The deadlifting video from his Instagram. 200 pounds. 2 months after claiming he couldn't lift 10. Investigator Walsh from Zenith Mutual entered from the side door, documenting everything with his phone. Mr. Pike, your claim is under review. Your benefits are suspended pending investigation. You can't do this here, not in front of... You chose the venue, I called out. You wanted everyone to see the truth. My mother stood up, shaking. Maya, how could you? How could I? How could you? You stood there while he hit me. You asked me to lie to protect him. The room was silent except for the hum of the projector. The screen now showed the police report, the protection order, the medical photographs that made several people look away. Sloane tried to run for the exit, but Detective Morrison's partner stopped her. Miss Pike, we have questions about the Heroes Haven Foundation. I want a lawyer. That's your right, but multiple donors have filed complaints. We'll need you to come to the station. Mark, the fiancé, stood frozen, staring at his bride-to-be like he'd never seen her before. The charity! You said you were helping veterans. Pastor Williams finally reached the microphone. Everyone, please, let's remain calm. But Randall wasn't done. He saw me near the entrance, started moving toward me. You destroyed everything. You ungrateful Mr. Pike. Officer Johnson's voice cut through. You're within 100 yards of Miss Hart. That's a violation of the protection order. Randall stopped at 90 feet, his face purple with rage. She came here to my event. This is a public space, and she's maintaining legal distance. You're approaching her. Step back now or you'll be arrested. The entire congregation watched as Randall stood there, trapped between his rage and the consequences. His image as the respectable family man evaporated with each heavy breath. Sir, Detective Morrison stepped forward. We can do this quietly at the station, or we can arrest you here. Your choice. The silence stretched like a taut wire. Then Randall laughed bitter, hollow. She wins. The ungrateful bitch wins. That's enough. Morrison nodded to his partner. Randall Pike, you're under arrest for violation of a protection order and suspected insurance fraud. The handcuffs clicked in the silence of 200 witnesses. As they led him past me, Randall stopped, the officers allowing him one moment at a safe distance. Your father would be ashamed. My father would be proud, I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. He taught me to stand up to bullies, even the ones who hide behind family values and church pews. They led him out to the patrol car, its lights painting the church windows red and blue, the same lights from that October night. But this time, they were taking the right person away. The patrol car's taillights disappeared into the October darkness, taking Randall Pike and his carefully constructed lies with them. Sloane sat in the back of another cruiser, her white engagement dress a mockery of innocence as Detective Morrison's partner read her rights through the window. The fellowship hall had emptied in minutes, leaving overturned chairs and abandoned champagne glasses. My mother stood alone by the gift table, surrounded by wrapped presents for a wedding that would never happen. You destroyed us, she whispered when I approached. Our family, our reputation, everything. There was nothing to destroy. Mom, it was all built on lies. She looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time since that night. The bruises had faded, but something in her eyes finally seemed to see them. I have to go, she said. I have to figure out everything, the house, the debts Sloane created, the divorce. You're divorcing him. What choice do I have? He's going to prison, and I... She paused, her voice breaking. I stood there while he hurt you. I chose him over my own daughter. I wanted to comfort her, to say it was okay, but it wasn't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some betrayals cut too deep for easy forgiveness. Tessa waited for me by the exit. Rory had arrived sometime during the chaos, standing with Investigator Walsh as they documented the scene. Tommy came down from the AV booth, looking shaken but resolute. "Thank you," I told him. "That took courage." "The truth needed to come out," he said simply. I just pushed play. Outside, the parking lot was nearly empty. 9:45 p.m., and the only sounds were distant traffic and the autumn wind rattling leaves across asphalt. I stood where the police cars had been, looking at the church where Randall had played his perfect family man role every Sunday. My phone buzzed. A text from Detective Morrison. "Pike's being processed. Multiple charges pending. Your evidence was instrumental. The protection order is now permanent." Another from Walsh. "Zenith Mutual will be pursuing criminal charges." His claim was worth $78,000 in fraudulent benefits. A third from Brittany. Sloane's ex-roommate. "Saw the news on Facebook. About time someone stopped them." The news was already spreading. Videos from inside the hall were hitting social media. Church engagement party becomes crime scene. Contractor arrested for fraud at daughter's party. Stepdaughter's revenge exposes family crimes. But I didn't care about viral fame or public vindication anymore. Standing in that parking lot, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Freedom. The weight of documenting every insult, every threat, every moment of abuse was lifting. Tessa drove me back to her apartment. We didn't talk during the ride. Didn't need to. She'd been there through everything, the planning, the preparation, the execution. She understood that this kind of victory doesn't feel like celebration. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath underwater. My father's boxes were still in storage, safe from Randall's reach. Tomorrow, I'd move them to my own place. I'd frame his Navy photo, display his tools, keep his memory without anyone's permission or judgment. My phone rang one last time. An unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. Pastor Williams. "Maya, I owe you an apology. We all do. We saw what we wanted to see, believed what was easier to believe. The congregation. We failed you." "You did. Is there anything we can do? Any way to make amends?" I thought about it. About the other women who'd messaged me, sharing their own stories of abuse dismissed by their communities. Yes. Believe women the first time. Don't wait for the body cam footage and handcuffs. The call ended with his promises to do better, to change the church's approach to domestic violence. Maybe he would. Maybe they all would. Or maybe the next woman would have to fight just as hard for anyone to believe her. But that was tomorrow's battle. Tonight. I sat in Tessa's living room, deleting the folder labeled evidence from my laptop. 9 months of documentation finally served its purpose. The protection order was permanent. The fraudsters were arrested. The truth was public record. Rory texted one more update. Randall's bail hearing is Monday. Given the protection order violation and flight risk, he'll likely stay in custody. You did it. Maya, you won. I looked at that text for a long moment. Won. As if this had been a game with prizes and trophies instead of a fight for survival and justice. But she was right in one way. I had won. Not because Randall was in handcuffs or because Sloane's fraud was exposed. I won because I'd refused to let them rewrite reality. I'd refused to disappear quietly into the narrative of the troubled stepdaughter. The clock on Tessa's wall showed 11:15 p.m., the same clock I'd watched all those nights, planning and preparing while Randall thought he was untouchable. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at Aurora's lights stretching toward the mountains. Somewhere out there, in a jail cell, Randall Pike was learning what it felt like to be powerless, to have your story told by someone else, to be judged by evidence instead of reputation. "You okay?" Tessa asked, joining me at the window. "Yeah," I said, and meant it. I'm free. Tonight, I wasn't the girl who had to ask a permission to exist in her own home. I was the woman who'd brought down a predator with his own words, exposed a fraud with her own messages, and proved that sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served legally, publicly, and with receipts. The police lights were gone, but their work was done. The handcuffs had closed. The truth had been revealed, and for the first time in years, I could breathe without documenting it. Tonight, I was no longer a victim. I was a survivor who'd written her own ending, and the sound of those closing handcuffs was the only punctuation this story would ever need. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your own experiences and perspectives mean everything to this community. Until next time, stay strong and never let anyone silence your truth.